Hi, it's Lisa. I'm back. I'm going to do a quick little video about kefir. Kefir is a cultured dairy milk product, and I just wanted to show you it's super easy. So I was going to show you how we do it, and then I was going to show you a quick little recipe I use it in. So this is my current kefir. I don't know how well you can see how it's kind of like a thick yogurty, a little bit looser than yogurt, but it's pretty thick. And we use raw milk, so the cream has settled at the top because it's not homogenized. So usually the grains that culture it get stuck in the top. But basically what I do is I pour it through a strainer into something that will catch it. And then I just kind of push it through with a spatula, which does break it up a bit, so it's like a little looser, which is fine because what I really want for the recipe I'm making is basically like a buttermilk consistency. So then usually if I'm going to use the whole jar, I will put the grains right back in the jar. So like if I'm making a smoothie, I'll just dump the whole jar into my blender with the strainer and then just put the grains right back in the jar and fill it with milk. But since I'm not going to use this whole jar for this recipe, I'm going to put the grains into a separate jar. So here's the grains. If you can see, it's just like a little blob, kind of looks like cauliflower. And it is like a gelatinous, rubbery texture. And this milky like coating on it, which, you know, seems like it's just from sitting in the milk, it actually has a coating called kefir on it that has antibacterial properties. So you don't really want to rinse your grains. So I just pick them out and put them in my jar for the next batch. And if you notice, those were a couple little bit bigger clumps, and then there's some really little ones because they break off as they grow, and so you end up with more or bigger clumps as time goes on. And if your kefir is culturing too quickly for what you like, you can either remove some of the grains from it, or you can add more milk to the amount of grains you have. When we get too many grains, we usually have 2 jars going at a time. When we get too many grains, we will put them in a separate jar of milk and keep them, and then give them away if people need them. All right, I want about a cup and a quarter, so that's pretty good. So I'm not actually probably going to find all my grains out of this jar, which is fine. I might be able to feel. Sometimes you can feel them in here. No. So I only have a few in here, so I'm not going to put a ton of milk in here. But all you do is put them in and fill it with milk. Now, if I had like a couple tablespoons, which I just need to strain the rest of the jar, I would fill up this jar with milk. But since I don't, okay, what's with my milk? Oh, it's just I gotta shake it. Hold on. My cream. Okay. Alright, so now I only have a little bit of grains in here, so I'm just going to put like a little bit of milk because I don't want it to have too much milk for grains. So that's probably good for now. And when I fish the rest of the grains, I'll add more milk to it. So then this just sits on the counter for anywhere from 12 to 36 hours. This weather, it'll probably only take maybe a day at the most. And then I'll just put the rest of this other kefir back in the fridge till I'm ready to use it. All right, so we're making ranch dressing here. So I've got my kefir. I've got about a cup and a quarter. And I'm going to add my spice blend to that and mix it and then pour it in here. So I've got a teaspoon of dried parsley, a half a teaspoon of ground pepper, a teaspoon of Celtic sea salt, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a quarter teaspoon of onion powder, and a quarter teaspoon of dried thyme. So I'm going to just mix this in here to kind of wake up these spices so they don't get all clumped. we make our dressings in these little containers because it just makes it easier to keep in the fridge and store. I actually want my spatula back. Scrape this all out of here. Okay, so there we've got our kefir and our spices for our ranch dressing, and now all we need is to add some mayonnaise. So I'm going to add about just shy of a cup of mayonnaise. My dressing container only holds 2 cups, so I just gonna add a little less mayonnaise than what it calls for, so I don't go over my limit on my dressing container. Okay, that should be good. That should be about 3/4 of a cup, which is fine. And I'll add that into here. And I could measure using the measurements on this dressing container, but I find it's easier to measure it into the measuring cup. And it's easier to strain the kefir too because it's got a wider mouth to the measuring cup. Alright, so there we go. And I'm probably overfilling my dressing container. I just hold the lid down and shake it up. You could mix it with a whisk. You could do this in a mason jar. That's all there is to it, and you've got beautiful homemade ranch dressing. I love ranch dressing. However, I can't have commercial ranch dressing because I can't have dry milk, which is usually made from a powder, the ranch dressing mix, and I can't have MSG, which is in a lot of the ranch dressings. So we just make our own, and it's really delicious, and the longer it'll sit in the fridge and chill, the flavors will meld. And we use it for dipping, we use it on salads, we use it to, vegetables, all kinds of stuff. I love to dip my broccoli into ranch dressing, cooked broccoli. Anyway, so that's all there is to it, to making kefir and ranch dressing. It's super easy and delicious, and you can use the kefir in lots of things. We use it in place of anything I need buttermilk for. You can use it in place of yogurt. It is a little bit looser than yogurt. You can thin it out with water if it was too thick for something you need. But we use it in our pancakes, our waffles. We make smoothies with it. It's just absolutely great to have on hand, and it's full of probiotics and vitamins. So it's a wonderful thing to have and super easy to make. Talk to you later. Goodbye and good luck.